Good morning, everybody. My name's Nate Manahan. It is August 5th. It's Hump Day. It's Wednesday, the first Wednesday of August, and we are ready to get going. We have all kinds of things to talk today about how we talk and think about innovation when we bring new ideas to the sales process, and we're talking to merchants across the United States about how they can do new things. We're going to talk about how do we tell them when they have some really bad ideas, and then we're going to have an interesting discussion about how do we have two clients that are competitors of each other, and how do we deal with that? All this in the high five, because you know what? We can have a freaking hurricane that's gone through the East Coast, and we're still up because we're resilient. That's what we do at PaperTech. That's what we do in the U.S., and we're ready to go. Let's go. High five.
The time has come. The questions are set. Opinions hide. Discussions are led. A show about nothing and everything. It's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. It's time for the high five. We've got it all covered. It's time for the high five. We've got it all covered, yeah. The high five.
All right, everybody, it is time for a high five. I got to hit unmute because I am bringing up three of the best looking people in the world right here as we center ourselves and our cameras on the far left-hand screen, staring off into the distance as he can, making everyone look, well, just not as good because he looks so doggone good. He's living the dream in the high of the mountains of Rocky Mountains, but he's really making dreams come true for our PaperTech partners as we make payment professionals and the entrepreneurs that you guys are, making you successful every day. Mr. Danny Shard, how are you, sir?
Unmute yourself.
And
I mute myself?
now you're back on. See, you got
morning, Nate.
Good morning.
Thank you for that intro. It was much needed. Although I think the guy in the middle looks the best this morning. Good morning, Brian.
Oh, look at that. Brian Linke, the king, the Lord. There's so many words we can describe him, of Florida State University. The ones who are, we'll just call the ceremonial 2020 basketball national champions. Mr. Brian Linke, how are you, sir?
Nate, I'm great. Thanks for asking. And Danny struggles with technology. That's why he like the whole mute thing. I've often helped him on a daily basis, and I know you do as well. So, if you guys ever have any questions, just feel free to reach out.
Hey, that is why we roll this way. We're going to have some conversation today really about innovation, but how you bring innovation into the sales process. So I want to get started with this one, guys, okay? How do you stay up with new ideas? We always say payments is one of the fastest moving things. Technology is changing rapidly. And then on top of that, we have a little thing that we call a pandemic going on that's changed our life and our lifestyle a little bit, changed how we do business, or even if we have business, and we have to stay up on new ideas. So, Brian, I know you've been doing this for a lot longer than Danny and I have. How have you stayed up with new ideas, making sure you're on the appropriate cutting edge and when it comes to selling to new merchants and new customers?
It's an easy one. I listen to whatever Danny Shard tells me to do.
I knew that was coming.
Actually, seriously, the thing about it is, like especially at PaperTech, the tools that we are given, the videos, the back office, mypapertech.com, some of these groups on Facebook, that I belong to. Again, even if you're doing just a little bit, obviously you're hopefully picking up on something. So yeah, I think we do a really, really good job of that. And when I'm talking to new agents or agents that are coming on board or trying to come on board, I tell them all the time, I'm like, you're not gonna when we've got relationship managers, we've got coaches, we've got trainings, we've got, videos, we've got emails that go out. Billy West keeps us, up to date on all the recent stuff. And, again, I've got the best in the business, Danny Shard, to talk to every single day. So it's easy for me.
Danny, I would say part of what he's saying is you make sure you surround yourself with the best people, and you surround yourself with people that know the new ideas and know what's going on. That's so key for our partners to make sure it's not just we try to surround them, but make sure you have good people speaking into you and making sure that they're on the cutting edge and helping you know what's coming down the pipeline, right?
Yeah, it is. It's really just, staying connected with the good people and the right resources to stay engaged, right? I mean, I say all the time, I kind of keep my ear to the ground as much as possible. So I do a lot of industry reading and listen to a lot of podcasts that are out there. But getting to work with our team at PaperTech, all of us are constantly engaging in different aspects of the industry and keeping each other up to date. And that's really what it's all about. You got to have a team to really stay on the pulse of this entire thing.
And I think, I mean, when they're coming new things, how do you deal with in a situation when somebody says, "Hey, have you seen this? Have you seen that?" and you haven't? When, especially in a sales situation, because we never want to look like we don't know. So how do you answer that question, Danny, when someone says, "Hey, have you seen how?" Let's use something really new in the last couple of weeks. How Apple's going to start rolling out making their iPhone a personal terminal. Have you seen that? And you go, "No, I haven't. I missed that news in the last 2 weeks. I was on vacation or whatever." How do you deal with that and make sure that you put the right foot forward and show the expertise that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to. I do it every day. I learn something new every day. Nate, you and I looked at that menu, that online menu creation yesterday. Yep. That Bradley Alton showed to me. That there's always something new coming out, and most of it has to do with technology. So really, it's just about being able to stay humble and just you don't know everything, right? You're gonna hear about things well after the fact. There's a lot of things that if you try to stay engaged, you're going to be one of the first to know, and you can help your team and help other people kind of understand what to expect. But it's good to hear from others and hear new things that you missed, because it's going to happen. This industry is changing all the time, and you've got to have people like that in your corner that are going to guide you and keep you up to date on things you missed.
So Brian, what for you? How do you often, and I put this, you position yourself as the loving Luddite a lot of times. You don't know how to tech, how to do that, but we all know that's not true. We know that you are absolutely, completely capable and probably the best user of your iPhone of any of us. But when you're walking into a situation, you certainly may not be kept up to date on something. You may not know something, or you may not even know something that's particular to their industry. How do you build that? How do you build that confidence when you're walking in, when you say, "Man, I don't really know how this industry works"? We've talked about this a lot of times. How do you make sure you're asking the right questions and you're putting yourself in the right spot to build that rapport that you need to have in a sales situation?
Danny used a key word there. Humble is a key word. And I think especially in today's day, people like humility, right? I mean, they connect well with people who are honest and who are, if you don't know the answer, there's no shame in telling somebody, because I do it every single day. But when I'm talking to a lot of these agents that ask me questions that I don't know the answer to, I say the same thing every single time. I'm like, I may not know the answer, but I know everybody else who does. And we've got a team of people here at PaperTech that, again, if you can't find out the answer to something, you're just not trying, because between, the coach, the relationship managers, myself, Danny Shard, Billy West, partners at PaperTech, which again is something I think a lot of our agents really, really, really need to get a little bit more used to using. You're just not trying. So yeah, just being humble. And more than that, just being honest, because the worst thing you can do is go in there and I don't want to say you're lying, but like you're just making things up, right? You're just off the cuff just because you think that somebody wants to know. But I'm telling you, people people like people who are humble, right? And people who are honest, and people know that you're being. I just had a merchant yesterday tell me that, "Brian, I trust you more than anybody I've ever trusted in my life." That's maybe the greatest compliment anybody can give me. I've never met the guy. I only talked to him over the phone. But I've earned his trust. And when you do that, and again, believe me, okay, he's asked me questions daily that I can't answer. But, every single time I tell him, "You know what, hold on, I'll call you back." And people, again, I think they warm up to you that way.
And I just want to add on to that. I couldn't agree more, because I think, your peers and your customers absolutely can tell when you're more or less BSing it, right? And Brian said it best. We talk to partners about that all the time. There is no shame when presented with a unique opportunity or a unique question or something out of left field that you've just never been presented with before. There's no shame in saying, you know what, I'm not sure, but let me talk to my team and find out. And I think customers, peers, anybody that you work with is going to appreciate that a lot more than trying to fake an answer and then backtracking whenever you find out what the real answer is.
I didn't grow up with the internet.
That's right.
Well,
okay,
and that
okay, when you say that to somebody, they kind of take a half a step back and like, what? Really? Yeah. So
well, and I think a lot of us
that's just
forget that we
being
didn't grow up with
honest
it.
and warming up and just earning the trust of somebody.
And as we transition kind of in the second question, this bids into how do you bring up new ideas in a sales situation? And this is happening more and more because ultimately you're coming into a customer. So let's take a retailer or a restaurant, and you're suggesting that they change their system or change the way they do business because it'll help make them more money, or it'll help them become more efficient, or help them even stay in business. But you're suggesting that maybe you might know a little bit more. How do you humbly do that? And walk into that situation and make sure that you're getting that new idea across and how important that is. Sometimes there's a different scale of that too. But Danny, how do you tell people, hey, you know what? This will be a better way to do it than you're currently doing it, when maybe they might fight against that. Sometimes they're coming and saying, hey, I got it. But,
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be that if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality with a lot of businesses. And it's our job as sales professionals to guide these merchants into this new technology. But really, I think there's a fine line between being pushy and, offering legitimate suggestions that are going to benefit their business, right? You're trying to state a case that is going to make their business more efficient, make them more money, get with the times, right? Are you still using a flip phone? No, you have a smartphone. Why are you still using the flip phone of payment processing options? And I think that's, some good analogies to use and comparisons to use whenever you're talking to merchants. But you're still going to have that mentality. Like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that can be tough to get around. So it's more just trying to present to them a series of scenarios that are going to make their business better by doing this, but we can still accommodate them if they want to keep this the old-fashioned way. And so you've got to draw that fine line and not be too pushy, but really make sure you present a solid case of why they need to migrate into this, into these new systems, into this new type of technology.
So, Brian, you walk into a new restaurant that you've never walked into before. You have an opportunity to talk to the operator that has the decision-making power, and you recommend to them that they need to do pay at the table, use QR codes, and do curbside when they've been using a cash register and maybe a payment terminal of some type. How do you bridge that conversation? How do you jump into it and say, hey, these are the new best practices that are out there when it comes to payments and comes to running a restaurant?
Ready. This is going to be good.
No. I think I've got this.
I know you do.
I think that the key to being one of the keys to being a good salesperson is being organized. And when you're organized, that to me that means having examples set. So when you walk in, you know what you're going to be talking about. You're going to be talking about the pay at the table. You're going to be talking about the POS. So, again, having examples of other merchants that have bought or are leasing or whatever, the Paradise POS or the Hot Sauce POS, and they're already using that and using those examples, towards this customer. I just talked to somebody the other day who, didn't think of something that I actually thought of. And this is something that I use all the time. Everyone wants to, think about the POS system as something that, again, is just so, pay at the table and all these things. The thing that they don't think about is how about on the back end? Okay. Like figuring out like what's not selling. Okay. And saving money on stuff that your food or whatever utensil, whatever it is that you're buying. Maybe you don't have to buy as much of it because you're going to eliminate 5 or 6, 10 things off the menu and save money on the back end. So you haven't even sold anything yet. You really haven't even used anything yet on the front end, but you're saving money using the POS on the back end, just on things that you're not having to use anymore or buy anymore. And it's just amazing when you start talking like that and having little bullet points of examples, and that's just one of them, to use. People again are like, oh yeah, you know what, I never thought of that. But again, using examples of merchants that are already using. And if you don't have your merchants, you can call me and I can talk to you about some of the merchants that I have, or some of the merchants that some of these local people that I deal with are using. And I just think that's something that people, when they walk in there, all they're thinking about is, this is what this does, and this is what this does, or this is what this does, and that's great. Okay, but like to be in, unless you're going to have Robert Kramer, following you around, all day long, it's going to be difficult for you to do that, or Matt Proctor, to bring them with you every single where you go, because that's not happening.
All right, I just have to say that I had so many things I was going to bridge this conversation with, but now the picture of Robert Kramer following me around all day long is just throwing me for a loop, Brian. I'm just telling you.
Well, okay, here's the thing. There's zero chance.
It's intimidating.
I know.
Well, it is intimidating, and I'm not sure I could make it through one full day. But
you've come pretty close a couple times. I've heard the stories. But all right. But moving on, Danny, I love what Brian said. One, make sure you're organized. Absolutely. And two, make sure you have testimonies. And Brian would say everybody can call them. I'm going to kick back a little bit. I don't want all 1,000 of our agents calling Brian every time they need a testimony. The poor guy wouldn't sleep. But what do we have built into our systems to make sure if they don't have testimonies, if they don't have examples, that they can make sure they can present that? Because those are two really important things: be organized and tell testimonies. How is our system built to help our partners do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It can be tough, especially if you're just getting started, trying to have some of that references. I love the idea of our partners calling Brian and asking for that testimony. I think it's a great option. The challenging part in our industry, and that we have true partnerships with our agents, is the fact that you own your book, right? So we have a hard time, reaching out to partner John Smith and asking for permission for one of their merchants to be used as a reference for new partner Jane Smith that's just getting started, right? So it can be a difficult conversation. I think where we offer some great marketing, some great videos, some presentation material that's going to help you kind of break that ice, right? Get that first deal and get your foot in the door. And if you need a better testimonial or just another voice, a lot of times I have conversations with partners and merchants, and that's really what it takes, is just another voice, maybe from somebody in a sales position at the company, that's going to give the merchant that extra feel good, if you will, or confidence that this is going to be a good move for them. And Brian's the guy, I'm the guy, Jen, Jay Salee, we're all able to help with that. So lean on our team if you need some help. If you're having a hard time getting the ice broken and getting some of those deals, and the references or testimonials are holding you back, we can help.
Well, and it takes a village to do anything in life, and that's why we put a village around all of our partners, to make sure you have the tools and the opportunities to go in and talk about things that you may not have experience with, but you still will. We see so many of our partners, we love to celebrate. What's your first deal, your first POS deal, because those are great opportunities, and we are putting the team around you. Eventually you need less and less of us, but we're here to help you learn how to crawl, and then get you to walking, and then get you to running. And then eventually you're going to run just as fast as all of us. But there's a problem sometimes that when we are working with new merchants, new customers, we're walking into that situation and we realize something they are doing is causing major issues. And we dare say it's a bad idea what they're doing. So gentlemen, when you're in this situation and you're talking to potential new customers and they are doing really, something that's not the best idea, how do you bridge that? And how do you start that conversation? I'm going to start with Brian Linke. Brian, how do you start that conversation?
Okay, I got picked first on this one.
Well, we did say, how do you deal with a bad idea? So it just came. So I don't know why it just came to me.
I'm not sure that you talk about a bad idea. I think what you want to do is try to twist it around and talk about like rather than talk about what's a bad idea, what would be a good idea. So again, listening to somebody, listening to what they have to say, and again using examples, testimonials, like you just said, Nate, that may be, you may be able to, again, turn that bad idea into like, hey, you know what? Why don't we see if this might work? And again, open-ended question, asking your merchant, to rather than a yes or no, and get them to speak. And then by doing that, and again, it's hard to do it. It's hard to answer that question without like a specific example sitting in front of someone. But I think if you can, because isn't the one of the best interview questions when you're sitting down in front of somebody and they ask you, what's your what's the biggest negative that you have, and rather than answering that question, you turn that question into a positive, like you've learned from the negative into a positive. And I think it's the same kind of thing.
I mean, for us, and I'm going to ask you, Danny, in a second, but for me, I guess not for us, for me, I often think I try to help people set and see, hey, what's that goal you want to get to? And then let's backtrack. What's the best way to get to that goal? And try to help them have the self-revelation that, hey, maybe how I'm doing it is not going to get me where I actually want to go. And so we help them deal with that. Danny, I know you deal with a lot of partners, and I'm not going to name names, that are probably not using best practices or being as efficient, effective, and being successful as they could be in their sales job. And you have to help guide them into that, hey, there's a better way to do this. How do you do that without, saying it's a bad idea? Because I agree, Danny, it's going to be Brian, that you don't say it's a bad idea. You have to bridge into that conversation.
I think it's also knowing your audience, right? I have no problem, depending on who it is, telling him it's a bad idea. I tell Brian nearly every day that it's
not nearly every day, Dan. Not nearly every day.
and like Nate, you, Billy, Matt Hoskins, you guys listen to my bad ideas on a daily basis, and you guys are very kind. In fact, too kind, a lot kinder than I would be. But Brian's right. Really, it's just not necessarily belittling and saying, "Gosh, that's awful. What are you doing?" It's more trying to present an alternative that completely overshadows and makes it obvious that it's a bad idea without saying it's a bad idea. If you don't have that, then I think you just kind of, like he said, tiptoe around it and change the conversation, or just disregard the idea. Usually that comes up. There's a lot of ideas flowing, and a lot of times bad ideas can turn into great ideas when they evolve into something. So, if you listen and kind of work through it, that idea can turn into something. But I think Brian is usually trying to think of crazy ideas that I'm presented with, and 1 out of 100 they work. So you got to listen to the bad ideas to find the good ones. It's like a needle in a haystack sometimes.
Now, again, the terminology, thinking outside the box. I know no one ever wants to hear that because it's so overused. But again, when somebody tells you something and you're sitting there, there's no shame in taking a step back and saying, you know what, I think I might be able to come up with something else, and walking out, shaking hands, walking out, and coming back and saying, hey, you know what, I dug this up, and I dug that up, and I thought, so no one has ever said you have to, right then and there, come up with an idea, because you may not have it right then and there. But again, if you tell your merchant, you know what, I've got a couple of things in the back of my mind. I want to go back to my office and consult with some of my peers, and let's meet on Thursday or Friday and talk about it. Again, those are things that are building trust, and that's the key to selling.
That is so the key. And I think when a bad idea becomes a good idea, that's going to make me think all day. I mean, that's some deep thought right there. And that's what you get here when you're on the high five, when you're going to, the best sales professions.
Right?
Yep.
It evolves into a good idea. So
no,
exactly right.
No, I mean, it does. I mean, and And it's just helping us all take that next step. I mean, it's making sure we don't have to be judgmental. We just have to be, part of the team and help build that trust and that rapport and what you guys have been talking about. Now I'm going to take we had 3 really interesting conversations about the innovation, but I thought of another question. This came up with something in the last week and it made me think about this is when competitors are both your clients or you're selling to both of them at the same time. And, depending on the industry, there's more, if you're 2 pizza places on different sides of town, yeah, they're somewhat competitors, but not so much. But if they're selling, the exact same product and one's selling it for $5.99 and one's selling it for $4.99, and you have to disclose, do you have to disclose that? Then there's competition when there actually is head-to-head competition and maybe in the same town and maybe on the same street. And that is an opportunity for you to learn how to do that. And so, Brian, Danny, in your years of doing this, how do you deal with the fact that often you may not know which client is doing what, and then you learn something, you have inside knowledge because you're becoming friends with both. How do you deal with that, and how do you make sure you do that ethically? What do you think?
Again, there's selling there's a fine line, and I think the answer to the question is, no one ever said you had to come full circle with everything. If you learn something from one merchant, there's no shame in the fact of going to their competitor and saying, hey, you know what, you don't have to tell that merchant, the name of the company or whatever. But if you learn something from one, I don't think there's any shame in bringing that idea to the competitor. Again, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot, and sometimes staying silent may be the best answer. But again, when you learn something from one, again, I don't think there's any shame in going to the competitor and saying, hey, you know what, I've got another merchant who's doing it this way, and it's working out really well. What do you think? And seeing how it goes.
Well, it's kind of, I would agree. There are certain times you just have to be prudent, but I'm 100% sure, like using an example from your family, Brian, if someone's working at Apple and someone's working at Google and they're not, and you're selling to both, you're not going to share ideas back and forth. Danny, when are the times that you're like, man, I just got to be really careful to make sure their confidence, I want them to trust me. And how do you know which things are intellectual property that are so important that you don't let someone else, you make sure they know that they can trust you not to tell someone else?
This is a really hard question, by the way.
This is a great question. I love this. It's may the best man win, right? Business is competitive, and that's, what it should be. I think, I'm going to say I completely disagree with Brian. There should be no discussing what the competitors are doing. Look, we're providing a service to all different types of businesses. And when you've got 2 pizza places and you are friends with both of them, and more of the inner workings of one, and you can see how one is positioning themselves to be more successful in the things that they're doing, it's absolutely wrong to share that with the competitor. I think what Brian's really trying to say, Brian, that's like sneaking into the other team's huddle, man. That's just wrong, and it's just not something you do. And you don't want to be the middleman that does that. I think what you're really trying to say, though, is that without, maybe just as you acquire some of that knowledge, maybe you pass that knowledge on without telling them who that is coming from, right?
And that's what I said.
So John's Pizza Place over here is doing this.
I didn't say that.
Right?
I didn't mention the name of John's Pizza Place.
And you can't make it obvious either that that's happening. But I love this. I love this question. I think partners are presented with it on a daily basis, especially if you're in a smaller community and you're signing up a lot of merchants. There's going to be a lot of competition there, right? A lot of it's good and healthy, and they want it. A lot of it, you'll see like these 2 pizza places just clash and they hate each other for obvious reasons because they're taking business from one another. But I think there's absolutely ways that you can take some information from all merchants and all experiences and guide some of the ones that you see need it without giving any trade secrets away and making it obvious that you're taking information from, merchant A and giving it to merchant B. Because I'll tell you, for example, if merchant A is now marketing significantly online and doing a lot of things and merchant B is not, Then all of a sudden, and they talk to you about it, and you're like, great, that's wonderful. A week later, and now Merchant B is doing it. Merchant A is going to be like, what happened? Oh, did you tell them to do this? Because now all of a sudden they're doing it. What a coincidence, right? Things like that will catch on. So there, you got, like Brian said, you got to kind of tiptoe around it, but definitely can't give it away. That's just not the way it's supposed to work. Business is supposed to be competitive.
I failed on that question.
Totally.
But these are fun things to think about, because it's going to happen more and more, especially, whether you are running Facebook ads and you're getting leads from both different sides of the street, or you're walking down Main Street and you're going with two competitors. There is competition in the market, no matter how small or how big. And you have to think through how you're going to decide to do that, because you will break trust. And if you break trust with one, your reputation will be broken, and it can hurt you long term if you don't think of it ahead of time. And I've seen some salespeople that, man, no one's going to do business with them because they don't know, when they let them inside just a little bit inside their inner circle, what they may be telling someone else. And that's, you got to think about it ahead of time, because this is your career.
True. So I've seen it, and it happens. I mean, so partners and reps in our industry just have to be aware of that, and make sure that you're on everyone's side. You're there to make every business successful. And even though there's competition out there, you're not getting in the middle of it. You're there to provide all of them with a service and make sure all of them can take payments in a successful way and an efficient way. So this is a great question, Nate. I love this. And in fact, this is the second great question of the day that I've seen. I just saw a clip that you sent over interviewing the one and only Eric Dickerson, and presented him with a question that he had never been asked, and he was very appreciative. So man, I love the questions you're coming up with. You're good at this.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I shared that in confidence. That was a 9-year-old video. Now, I know it's on YouTube, but it's not been found all that many times. So let's keep it quiet.
I think we need to show a clip of this on the future High Five of Nate Howard Cosell Manahan doing the interview with Eric Dickerson. That's epic.
He's a Hall of Famer.
He is.
Hall of Famer.
Like I said in the email chain that I shared that in confidence in, I have 2 Hall of Famers that I have done personal interviews with from football. And so if you search hard, maybe you'll figure that out. I mean, you got to work for that. That's intellectual property. Huh?
Future.
So, all right.
Quick, Brian Linke, Eric Dickerson, what school?
Southern Methodist University.
Oh, look at that. See?
Pony Pride.
Yep.
Okay.
The pride of Dallas right there.
Mate?
Rick? No?
Come on, Brian. I don't know who it is either.
Rick
Who was
something?
it?
His running mate was Craig James.
Craig James. He was a stud too.
Okay, and Craig James, worked for ESPN.
That's
as,
right.
As one of the color guys on ESPN Game Day, and decided to up and leave and take a job at Fox. He followed a guy by the name of Keith Olbermann, who is now, I think he's still at Fox.
He's actually back at ESPN.
So Craig James went to Fox and kind of like disappeared from the face of the earth, and a guy by the name of Kirk Herbstreit took his place, and the rest is history.
That it is. All right. So jumping over to our last thing today. On Wednesdays now, we always bring what I like to call the Pay Pro Tech Heroes of the Week, as we bring and celebrate those who are doing great things in the Pay Pro Tech world or a little bit outside, as we celebrate people who are doing things extraordinary, special, and we just wanted to make sure we celebrate that. So, Mr. Danny Shard, I'm going to let you jump us off. Who is your hero of the week this week?
I love the heroes of the week. It's something I want to do more of, and keeping it in the Pay Pro Tech family. We can choose merchants, we can choose partners, we can choose coworkers.
He's about to steal mine.
I'm going with a coworker today, and that coworker is going to be one William West, Billy West. I think the guy is a machine, and if you're not familiar with Billy, he is the back end of everything that goes on. He's the fixer. More importantly, May, June, and July are really tough for Billy and his team internally, especially as we get into fireworks season, because it keeps them extremely busy. helping hundreds of merchants that we have that sign up for fireworks and making it efficient for them. Now that we're through July, a lot of that cleanup is getting completed, and Billy can take a breath of fresh air a little bit as he got through one of the busiest times of the year for us. So shout out William West. He's a true hero and a back end. He doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, on the face of things. So shout out to Billy.
Well, and Billy doesn't get enough FaceTime because he jumps in and fixes so many things on the back end with all the things that the processor screw up. And so right. Brian fixes things when it comes to like the social and making sure everything's taken care of. And Billy actually is the one who actually gets involved and makes sure the things actually get to where they are. And he has the knowledge to do that, whether you're on EPX or First Data or Global or TSYS, or you're, doing the most rare thing and you're the only one, he knows how to get those things done. That's a great one there, Danny.
He's the guy.
All right, Brian. Hero of the week for you.
This one, this is a tricky one too, just because it's. I'd like to keep it in the Paper Tech family, and I'm going to go. My pick is a guy who took a vacation. I'm envious of the vacation that he took, but came back with a vengeance. I'm seeing the drift leads that we're getting are much more qualified. I think we're talking to better agents every single day, or better agents that want to be agents with PaperTech. So my hero of the week is a guy who just interviewed Eric Dickerson, and that's Nate Manahan. I think Nate, you're a
solid choice
part of the company, and I'm seeing it every single day. On the drift leads that we're getting and the people that we're talking to, and I'm not sure we could do it without you.
I appreciate that. You don't know what to say when you're hosting, and you're like, "Yeah, thanks."
I agree with Brian. But what a brown noser, right?
I know. All right, so I don't even know what to say, so I'm just going to jump into mine. So mine,
he doesn't sign my paychecks though.
That's true. That is true. All right.
Thank you, Nate. That's a good one.
So I want to say I talked 2 days ago, and this is somewhat self-serving because we're going to highlight it tomorrow in an email. But I wanted Jesse Memo, one of the co-founders with Jay of Paradise POS. They have launched and rolled out. They had been wanting to do online ordering, hadn't been, and then the pandemic hit, and they got it done. And they've launched their new online ordering and integration with custom app build to do apps with Paradise. And we're excited to roll that out. We're going to be talking about the new placement deal with Paradise tomorrow. But Jesse and his team, when you're able to get something done when everything seems to be going against you and your kids are battling against, or staying at home and everything's going on, and you may roll out a major update to your POS. And I could choose some of our, we have lots of partners that are working really hard that are vendors like that. But Jesse, you've done a great job, and we're looking forward to seeing how our partners are going to be rolling this out as we roll out online ordering with Paradise. So Jesse, hero of the week. Good job. All right, gentlemen, I am ready.
Good one.
I am ready. Oh, I don't have my music up. Oh, I'm on the wrong music. That's fine. What do I got here? Hold on. And there we go. All right, Mr. Danny Shard. It is Wednesday. We'll be back on Friday morning. But what do you say to the PayProTech Nation to get us going on this August 5th?
It's a new month. I just don't like starting the month 3 days behind, right? So we start Monday on the 3rd, but it's already kicking off. We've had a great first start to the month, and keep it up, right? Still seeing if schools are going to start in some areas this month or not. So, we've got a lot that we're busy with, and let us help you. But a lot of exciting things happening at PayProTech to help you drive sales this month. So make sure you look at those emails, call in, talk to our team. You're going to be hearing from a lot of our team this month as well. Nate, great job today. I love the content on today's High Five. It was really good.
All right, and Mr. Brian Linke, it's Wednesday, hump day. What do you have to say, you?
Again, for the partners listening out there, it's nice doing this show. It's nice working for a company where even during the pandemic, and again, back, I can think back when, they kicked me out of this office, put me down in my basement, and kind of just said, stay there for a while. And at the time, I'll never forget. I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, okay, things are about to get bad. Things are about to get bad. The residual, the whole thing's about to get bad. Your partners aren't going to come on board, blah, blah, blah. And it's been exactly the opposite of that. and you know, again, it's refreshing, you know, when on the weekend you can go out to dinner with people that aren't in the industry and talk about just how well we're doing, and how well I'm doing, and how well the team is doing, and the company is doing, and so yeah, things are good here at PayProTech, and for the partners that are listening, let's get going. We've started out well in the month of August, and let's keep it rolling.
All right, for all those who are out in the East Coast, who have gone through our flooding and hurricane, it's even a hurricane can't get us down, but we know a lot of you are still without power. There are a lot of things going on. Millions of you who are going to recuperate. We're here to help any way we can. The merchants are out there getting back online, making sure those payments, getting those shipments out there, getting everything going. This is how we do it, because we are absolutely resilient. That's who we are this time of year. I am so happy to be part of this high five as we close up and think and close for a day. We say it's a virtual high five. Gentlemen, we say thank you for watching. Thanks so much for being part of the PayProTech Nation. We will see you Friday around 10 a.m. if you want to watch it live. If you don't, you can always watch it on Facebook, at YouTube, any place that PayProTech is, you can see it. We love you. We're thankful for you. And thank you for being part of the high five. High five, everybody. The high five, y'all. We'll see you on Friday.